We are standing by for what could be the most critical testimony in the entire federal trial of Sean Combs. Cassie Ventura is expected to take the stand. Prosecutors said Combs coerced her and another woman to participate in what he called freak-offs. They said he called himself the king and expected to be treated like one. He expected his inner circle to cater to his every desire.
Cassie Ventura just kicked off the hinges and marched into the courtroom with a vault of names, timelines, and stories that dropped jaws in every corner of the entertainment industry. No more blind items, no more sly nods. She handed over the whole map, complete with coordinates and timestamps, and exposed the inner workings of Diddy's crimes. Inside that courtroom, she wasn't the ex-girlfriend trying to stir drama. She was a witness, an insider, a woman who'd spent years behind the velvet rope, not just attending the parties, but organizing them. She didn't generalize. She didn't speak in metaphors. She named names, over 24 of them tied directly to Diddy in ways that now have legal weight behind them. Each one allegedly looped into his world of private events, seedy encounters, and a culture of protection so deep, it's been invisible until now.
The problem that I have with a star witness like Cassie is that she's extremely secure in her testimony. She remembers details. She testifies to graphic, horrific details that makes a lot of these jurors very uncomfortable. And then she cites to names, witnesses, people who knew. But more importantly, her testimony is now corroborated by images of the freak-offs that were shown to the jury. So now you don't really need to believe her about the freak-offs. You could actually see what she was describing in her testimony in images. And you know what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. But what's really interesting about Cassie and this witness is that she nixes all the facts that are bad for her credibility. You know, she nixed the idea of writing a memoir and asking for $30 million for Diddy to buy the rights. She explained that. She explains why she stayed in this relationship, why she consented. She says she had no means to go anywhere, you know, and she also is very honest. She was cheating. She was cheating with Kid Cudi, and she was using a burner phone so Diddy wouldn't catch her. But then she explains that's what she did for her own safety because he was so violent.
She testified under oath that Diddy's parties weren't just parties. They were curated, scheduled, and managed like military operations. Names like Usher, Meek Mill, Trey Songz, and French Montana weren't just mentioned. They were pinpointed with dates and locations. From swanky New York lofts to LA estates and overseas getaways, the same names rotated through what now looks like a highly coordinated setup. And according to Cassie, some of those people didn't just attend, they played active roles. And Cassie knew every detail because she helped make it all happen. She wasn't a bystander, she booked the cars, sent the invites, and managed the flow of women arriving under the illusion they were about to land the next big opportunity. Whether it was a fake music video audition or a bogus branding deal, she says the deception was deliberate. It was her job to prep them, keep them calm, and ensure they played their part. But it wasn't a job she chose. It was one she was forced into, buried under power, manipulation, and fear.
It's day 3 of the Diddy trial, and I'm here outside of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse on this very rainy day, where Cassie has continued giving her gut-wrenching testimony. Today, she took the stand and name-dropped rappers Drake and French Montana, saying she and Diddy were packing to go to Drake's music festival in Canada when Diddy threw her into a bed frame. Cassie said it left her with a significant gash over her eye and described a photo of her with French Montana, saying she purposely styled her hair to hide the injury. The jury appeared shocked as they were shown still images of Cassie from freak-offs. Cassie then testified that Diddy would threaten to release those videos to embarrass her. She went on to describe getting painful infections from the freak-offs and then having to participate while suffering from UTIs and other gastrointestinal issues. She said eventually she became addicted to opioids because she relied on them to recover from the freak-offs, saying, quote, "Opiates made me feel numb, which is why I relied on them so heavily." Cassie's giving this testimony all while being 8.5 months pregnant. This is the first time in 6 years that she and Diddy have been in the same room. Diddy's family have been supporting him throughout, but it's worth noting that his 18-year-old twin daughters were not in court today.
The celebrities involved weren't simply in the background. Cassie said they were engaged, interacting, and recurring. This wasn't a matter of someone showing up once and walking away. There were familiar faces, coming back again and again, and behind them, a team of assistants, PR people, and stylists moving like clockwork. This was a machine, a network, a system. What made the courtroom freeze was the presentation of something called Diddy's playlist, a spreadsheet covering 5 years of events, locations, names, and interactions, studio nights that morphed into after-hours sessions, tours that ended with penthouse gatherings, private gatherings that never saw daylight but consistently included the same circle. Every entry verified by travel logs, guest lists, and internal communications. And Cassie's account wasn't floating alone. Whistleblowers started stepping up, including Diddy's former bodyguard Roger Bonds, ex-Bad Boy insider Gene Deal, outspoken artist Jaguar Wright, and even anonymous assistants now under legal protection. Each of them backed the existence of that schedule. One of the biggest bombshells came when Cassie's lawyer held up a printed copy of that infamous document. 5 years, dozens of names, detailed notations. Her testimony included exact dates, the clothes people wore, who was escorted by whom, and what time things went down. She recalled a specific Miami weekend in July 2018 where a chart-topping rapper flew in, only to be quietly redirected to Diddy's yacht. She described a January 2021 event in LA where a popular R&B artist was led upstairs by Diddy's assistant with instructions for Cassie to make her comfortable. She even remembered the Vegas penthouse where 3 male celebrities stayed overnight. One overslept. She recalled what he was wearing, what he said when she woke him, and who he left with.
One of the most jaw-dropping moments in court came when Cassie's lawyer held up a printed version of what's being referred to as Diddy's playlist, a spreadsheet tracking 5 years of guests, sorted by location, date, and who they were reportedly with. Studio sessions that turned into sleepovers, tour dates that ended in penthouse parties, off-the-record events that never made the blogs, but always featured the same names in rotation.
The legal dominoes started falling fast. After Cassie's account hit the courtroom, 3 more women stepped forward. Each had eerily similar stories. They were flown in for something that was supposed to be work-related, only to realize it was a trap. One said she thought she was there to promote a luxury brand. Another said she was hired as a music video extra. A third believed she was being interviewed for an influencer deal. All of them say they were misled, and all confirmed witnessing things that aligned with Cassie's narrative. One even submitted an affidavit listing 6 names that matched Cassie's list exactly. And then the internet caught fire. 50 Cent didn't wait. Minutes after the news broke, he posted screenshots, blurred court documents with red circles, teasing the names everyone was now desperate to know. He went full-blown promo mode, releasing a trailer for his new Netflix docuseries. The voiceover hinted at those who knew but said nothing. The still frame froze on a fuzzy guest list, with one word burning through: confirmed. And now Cassie had called out the exact conversations, travel routes, and which floor they stayed on. She stated clearly in her testimony that she honestly had no choice and only wanted to make Diddy happy. Her exact words were, "Lawyer, how did you feel when he first asked for it?" Cassie Ventura, confused, nervous, I wanted to make him happy. Lawyer, did you agree to one when he first proposed it? Cassie Ventura, yes. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently. I didn't know what no could turn into. Lawyer, what do you mean? Cassie Ventura, making him angry. The whole situation has turned radioactive. Nobody wanted to be caught in the blast radius, and that's what makes this different. It's not just Diddy's behavior on trial anymore, it's the system. The structure, the corporate complicity. The handlers and agents and event managers who moved with precision, the ones who arranged the transportation, managed the timing, monitored who came in and who left. This wasn't just wild nights. It was planning, professional level planning for something that crossed every line imaginable. And the government noticed. Legal experts say this isn't staying at individual accusations. There's talk now of RICO charges, enterprise level corruption. If prosecutors can prove that multiple people knowingly helped create, protect, and profit from this system, this won't just bring down Diddy, it'll pull the curtain on an entire industry shielded by PR, money, and silence.
50 posted grainy screenshots from past parties, with red circles drawn around certain faces. One image showed a Grammy-winning singer from Atlanta. His caption? She was there. Why? Then he did what 50 does. He dropped a teaser trailer. The new promo for his Netflix docuseries shows silhouettes entering a luxury penthouse, a voiceover saying they knew what was happening, and a still frame on a blurry guest list with one word highlighted, confirmed.
But then came the moment that changed everything. In that silent courtroom, the prosecutor looked at Cassie and asked if any of the names involved were people the public would be shocked by. Cassie didn't even pause. She said some of them were artists she used to admire. Legends even, and that was all it took. The weight of that answer hit harder than any name drop ever could, because in that sealed courtroom where every word becomes federal record, the names didn't need to be spoken aloud. Some other names were mentioned too, like the subsidiary individuals who were most likely complicit in all of Diddy's evil acts.
Not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me. Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well, saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself. When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, just make him more violent, make him stronger, want to push me harder in that situation. Cassie also described the leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail, those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, one time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me. Now, Cassie's direct testimony is actually now over. The defense, though, they're going to get their chance to cross-examine her and go into the details again tomorrow morning.
Lawyer, how did Sean's moods vary? Cassie Ventura, day to day. Lawyer, when it swung, could you describe it? Cassie Ventura, anger, zoning out. Lawyer, how did it impact you? Cassie Ventura, greatly. The next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. There was also psychological. He'd tell me to watch my mouth, change my face. Lawyer, how would he keep tabs on you? Cassie Ventura, we didn't live far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant. Lawyer, like who? Cassie Ventura, David James, Christina Korm. Subequal. A sealed document was quietly handed to the judge. Cameras were banned. Reporters couldn't record a thing, but one blurry image leaked. A photo of someone walking the folder out. You couldn't see the list, just a faint corner of a name peeking out. The internet has been trying to guess ever since. But even if that name hadn't been visible, the reaction outside the courtroom tells the story. Artists are vanishing from view. Influencers are going quiet. Mentions are disappearing from the internet like smoke. Because Cassie didn't just shake Diddy, she cracked open a legacy of silence that's been stitched into the music industry's fabric for decades. And everyone knows what's coming next. The courtroom may have gone silent, but the world outside exploded. From studio boardrooms to celebrity mansions, panic lit up the industry like wildfire. Cassie's testimony hadn't just exposed Diddy, it ignited a chain reaction that turned whispers into witness statements and Instagram posts into evidence. And even though no cameras were allowed in the courtroom, the leaks outside were enough to confirm that this was no longer rumor. It was a reckoning. The effect was immediate. Subpoenas started rolling out like dominoes. Lawyers began making emergency calls. Contracts got reviewed, and NDAs once written in ink began to look like liabilities. Nobody wanted to be the next name revealed in court. Because while Cassie's list was sealed, it wasn't silent. Insiders hinted that several of the names would break the internet if confirmed. High profile, high revenue, and high risk for anyone still standing next to Diddy's legacy. Artists who once proudly flaunted their bad boy ties started distancing themselves. Collaborations were pulled, interviews were canceled, producers started ghosting inquiries, and past video footage began mysteriously disappearing from platforms. The cleanup wasn't just suspicious, it was frantic. Publicists worked overtime scrubbing old tweets and blog references. PR firms drafted statements they hoped they'd never have to release. But some of the damage couldn't be erased because Cassie didn't just remember events, she recalled details. She'd named dates and destinations, described clothing, song choices, even the scent of certain rooms. She remembered who walked in holding hands and who left trying to dodge cameras. And it wasn't just one-off accusations. Her story formed a pattern, one that echoed through the testimonies of others who were now stepping forward. Women who said they'd been promised opportunity but met manipulation. And men, yes, men too, who admitted they were told to play along or get pushed out.
Breaking news in the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors have finished direct examination of Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. At one point today, Ms. Ventura became tearful, describing how alleged abuse at the hands of Combs nearly led to her suicide. Also today, prosecutors showed the jury explicit photos of the alleged drug and filled so-called freak-offs. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Back with us tonight is CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates and criminal defense attorney Arthur Adala. Is it clear? I mean, how did the jury react to all this? What was it like?
Oh, there was one point in time when a juror touched her chest and took a deep breath when she saw the still photos of these purported freak-offs, as they were called. A male juror looked quickly and then darted his eyes away. Another was taking notes as well.
So they were shown still images?
They were shown just images. This was not to the public, by the way. This was one of the fights they had, one of the days of the early discussions about how they were going to approach the explicit nature and graphic nature of it.
And while Diddy himself has remained mostly silent, his empire is starting to splinter. Former allies are flipping. One longtime event coordinator reportedly met with federal investigators for 7 hours. 7, she turned over emails, calendars, and even a thumb drive of old footage. Her lawyer issued a single statement: "My client will fully cooperate with the investigation." That's code for, this is bigger than one man. And it is, because what Cassie exposed doesn't stop at Diddy's front door. She hinted at an entire support structure, a crew of insiders who worked in sync to keep the machine running, from the people booking flights to those directing security footage away from certain hallways. From music label execs who nodded and looked the other way to personal assistants trained to manage fallout. The question now isn't whether there's a system, it's how far up the chain it goes. Meanwhile, journalists are digging through old interviews, rewatching red carpet moments, pulling up footage that might have seemed harmless back then but hits differently now. A joke here, a wink there, a brush off that once read as charm now laced with eerie subtext. And the fans? They're connecting dots faster than media outlets can keep up. The court of public opinion has already handed out a few verdicts, and some of them are brutal. And let's not forget the fans who once defended these figures. Some are turning into amateur investigators, clipping screenshots, comparing timestamps, asking hard questions the media's too slow to chase. Others are watching in disbelief, reevaluating the artists they idolized. What if your favorite song came from a night that Cassie described? What if that Grammy win was part of a bigger lie? The veil is lifting, and beneath it, nothing looks the same. Back in court, the story continues to unfold behind closed doors. New witnesses are being scheduled. And at the center of all this is still Cassie. The girl who once posed beside Diddy at industry events is now the woman pulling back the curtain. She's not done. Sources close to the case say more documents are coming. More names, possibly even recordings. Because if you're going to break a system this big, you don't do it halfway, you go all the way, and she's only just begun. The industry that once danced to Diddy's beat is now holding its breath. Labels are waiting to see which contracts still stand. Artists are second-guessing every collaboration. Even influencers are pulling back, scared their name might be caught in the blast radius, because Cassie didn't just light a match, she found the fuse. And when the next piece drops, it won't just scorch Diddy. It'll burn through a legacy that now seems built on silence, secrets, and shadows.